Hi, my name is Mark and welcome to The Active Listener, where we aim to listen, not just hear. We firmly believe that everyone has an interesting story to tell, if given the space to do so. So listening to what our guests have to say, you may learn something. I'm really pleased to have Ben along with me today. Hi, Ben.
Hello, Mark.
Great to have you along, and it'd be really interesting to hear what you have to say. So would you like to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about what you do?
Yes. It's a pleasure to be here, Mark. Well, my name is Ben Darkwa. I'm a civil engineer and also into the creative arts of things. I live in London. I grew up in Ghana and moved to the UK about 25 years ago, lived in Cambridge for so long, and for the past couple of years have moved to London. So I guess as the interview goes along, people will know more about me, what drives my passion and all that. So yeah, that's me.
So tell me a little bit about the combination of being a civil engineer and being the creative arts, because I know that you're a filmmaker and producer and who knows what else. So how did that all come about as a package?
Okay, so growing up, what I found out that I like the creative industry, and and I picked up as civil engineering. I picked that up as also being creative. I've always liked to do things that would bring about change and makes people's livelihood better. So as a young guy, I was always, destroying stuff that dad buys to put it back together again, and also want to see what I can do to make people's lives better. So I took civil engineering because with civil engineering, we make stuff that is supposed to make your life better and comfortable. And at the same time, I picked up the creative, side of things, as in producing films, writing books, and stuff like that. Because I think that by people watching my product, they will learn a few things, and their lives will be better as well.
So how do you go about doing all of that stuff? Because it's one thing being a civil engineer, which from what I understand would be a lot of study, a lot of work, and a very time-consuming career, big enough in its own right. It's something else then to marry that up with the creative arts. So you're talking about being creative arts. I happen to know that you have made a series, you're about to release a film. To me, having sort of been in that background myself, I know that's a lot of work and you are on a different level. So how do you marry those two things up, and how did you even get started in filmmaking?
Okay, so that's a good question, Mark. Okay, so I started with the civil engineering first, finished uni, then went straight into engineering, did it for so long. And at about 5 years ago, I said to myself, it's time to bring up the filming side of me as well. So I wrote the script, but just to answer your question, it's a lot of hard work, So basically, I was working day and nighttime. I would dedicate about 5 hours of my time, trying to bring up the filming and that creative side of me up as well. Because growing up, I always knew that I had to have a balance between the two, and I wasn't quite sure which one I should go into. So I'm holding on to the two. It's hard work. Meaning that I have to dedicate some time to the filming side as well. So writing my script and getting people together, talking to people that are already into it, to make sure that whatever I was going to produce was going to have impact, positive impact on people's life as well. So I've been balancing the two for some reason. It's not easy, but it's doable when you have a vision.
So it sounds like it's a combination of passions and commitment, that both of them mean something to you, and so you had an inner drive to pursue both of them.
Yes, it has to come from within you. So basically everything I'm doing, it is not coming from my head, but it's coming from my heart. So there's passion. And I'm passionate about those two careers, being an engineer and also producing films. But Mark, one thing that people don't know about me is that the films that I produce is not just for entertainment. Yes, entertainment is one aspect of it, but it's something that people can learn life lessons from as well to change, their perspective on things, on how they see things.
Be good in a moment to unpack that a little more as to the genre you're in and what the films entail. I'm just interested to know how you kind of just got in, because you almost just say, I wrote this film script and whatever. And that's a lot of work. I've got friends who are authors, people who have been involved in the film industry, and it can take time to write something, to publish it, to get it accepted, to make the right connections, to get funding. It's not a 5-minute job. So I wonder how you went from being a kid, it being something that's always interested you, you pursue civil engineering, 5 years ago think, right, this is a passion that I've got. I want to take this further. How you go from all that to, now I've had a successful series published, about to release a film. I've had people act with me and so on, because you act yourself. So I just wondered how you went about doing that, from it being an idea to actual fruition.
About 30 years ago, when I was at high school, I started writing a script for plays, and I had a drama troupe in Ghana that we used to go to schools to perform for people. And anytime we went out, people really loved it. And all that. So that passion is always been there. But then at the same time, I had this, cravingness to be an engineer, not just an engineer, but be somebody. Basically, when I'm no longer on this planet, people can still remember me for my impact on development. So, that's the civil engineering side of me as well. So that has always been there. But like you said, it's not easy getting into, the creative side of things. So when I moved here, it was always in the background that I was going to pick the filming side of me up. But I had to first concentrate on the engineering to make sure that I was somewhere that I will be able to use some of my, income and that to sustain the creativity side of me. So I kind of left it in the background and picked it up when I thought, it's about time to bring that up. So I wrote my first script, turning it into a book as well. So the book is selling on Amazon, called Pauline's Diary. Then I made that film, Domestic Violence. It wasn't easy funding it. So basically, I had to use my own money to fund this, meaning that, I have to reduce certain things that I used to do, eating beans on toast and all this kind of stuff instead of, basically being out there and enjoying myself and that kind of stuff. I invested that into the creative side of things as well to make it happen. It's not easy, but it's doable.
So you obviously had that commitment and were able to fund it because that's something you believed in. You were prepared to pay the cost, so to speak. So tell us a little bit about the process of coming up with an idea, and maybe, tell us about that first book and how that's led on to other things.
So basically, if I take us back a bit, I was the chairman for the Cambridge African Network. So being in a community, I saw a few things, domestic abuse and stuff like that. And then I said to myself, how can I bring about change? So then I went through to start writing things down And actually being in a community, being a leader in a community, you can soon realize how people's lives are impacted by violence and stuff like that. So I started writing. So my book and that movie was not based on any individual person. It was just, pieces of information from people's lives that I put together, wrote it out in an attempt that when people read it, it will educate them and they will see, what actually goes on in real life, so they can make sure they don't fall into the same traps. So writing is something that has to come from the heart. To be able to have that passion and drive to make it to work.
Sounds like you were inspired by what you saw going around you, and you've used that to help formulate that idea based upon really what you were sharing earlier about almost wanting about making a difference, having a positive impact. And correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds like what you're doing is tapping into your creative side of skills to be able to have that impact, whether it be a legacy that you're remembered for that, but also about educating people, which in this case was about domestic violence. Have you had any feedback in terms of impact that may have had?
Yes. I have had a few people that have come back to me saying, Ben, you know what? I read that book. I relate to it. I know someone that has been through that and all that. Let me be honest here. I haven't had somebody that said, Ben, this has happened to me before, because no one will admit that, because something like domestic violence is a subject that people don't want to talk about. But, I have people saying, yeah, I know someone that this has happened to, and reading your book has actually opened my eyes to certain things and stuff like that. So that, to me, brings me joy, right? Even though my the project that I've done after, I believe has more impact, because it's more on the entertaining side of things, as opposed to the heavy subject of domestic violence that, people normally shy away from, but individuals have come to me to tell me about, how they've loved seeing it or reading the book that is currently, it was still selling on Amazon.
Pauline's Diary, it was a success. It's had an impact. You were able to fund that. How did you then move on to the next stage in your creative career?
Okay, so I had to start somewhere. So being an engineer is, what we have lessons learned. Yeah. So I wrote that book. I produced that movie, sat down and did evaluation to say, okay, what can be better? Yeah. And then I came up with the next project, which is called Trending Crimes, which is currently on Amazon Prime as well. People can watch that on Amazon Prime, and brought the lessons learned from Pauline's Diary to make sure that my next product was going to be bigger and better. So I produced that, and that is on crimes that are trending in the society and stuff like that, and how people can, identify them, realize them, and deal with them at a time. And now I even have a project that is even bigger coming out. I'm not going to talk a lot about that, but that was all shot in the UK. And once again, lessons learned from Trending Crimes made sure that my next project was even going to be bigger and better. And lo and behold, I had people that are big in the creative industry come on board with my new product called NIB. They came on board of it to make sure that it's going to be bigger. And I'm so excited that when that hit, the screens, that's it. We've landed, and, from there on, it's going to be cruising.
With the latest film, you actually, or as in Trending Crimes as well, I'm right in thinking that you are the star of the show, as it were. You're playing lead as well as having written and produced it.
That's correct. I wrote the script with a guy in Los Angeles. I wrote it first, got him to look at that, and he believed in it and said, you know what, I'm going to jump on this. So we shared the writing of that script. And then, when I gave it out for people to read, then I had guys that are big in the industry in the UK said, you know what, we believe in this vision. We're coming on board. And they came on board. And actually, one of them came and directed it as well. It's just been great. I cannot wait for that to unfold because, yes, you could probably tell the assignment in my voice. Because now I'm thinking that, that is probably the film I want people to know me of, to the point that I stopped even talking about the earlier project, because I think this is on a bigger scale, it's going to be on a much bigger platform, and I cannot wait, Mark.
Is this something that you would imagine taking over from your other career, or is it something that you'd always want to get that balance between the two? Okay,
so this is how I saw myself. Like I said to you, as a child, right from the age of maybe 4 or 5, I always had that vision of achieving these two goals, and I will not let anything drive me away from that. As a child, I always had my eyes on the target, and these are the two. There will be disappointment along the way, but I was so focused, or I am so focused, that I'm going to achieve the two. And how I really saw this is each of them I have to have a good outcome to be able to say I've done it. So the plan was the engineering has to be first, because I knew that it is very easy for that to put food on the table. And I also wanted to be remembered for projects that I've done, that my children or my grandchildren and that kind of stuff were able to say that my dad was on that project. So I've been on some remarkable project recently, the Elizabeth line in London. I've been an engineer on it or a manager on that project, and I'm proud of it because it's something that it will stay, for my great grandchildren to even come and see that, our great granddad was part of this project. Mm-hmm. And at some point, like you rightly said, I'm going to tip over to the creative side of things. So it's about life balance. So at the minute, if you ask me, the engineering side of things is probably still 70%. And the creative world, the movies, books, and that kind of stuff is 30%. And I'm hoping that in about 3 years' time, it will be 50-50. And in about 10 years' time, the creative will probably be 70. And the engineering will be 30, and eventually it's just going to be just creative, because I would have done everything that I needed to do in the engineering side, and I've already stamped my name somewhere, and then the creative will be what people will remember me for when I'm no longer here. I like to be remembered for the impact that I make whilst I'm alive, and I like people to know that I lived when I'm gone.
That's clearly an important thing of, again, that legacy that you kind of live on, I guess, through something that you've achieved. So it sounds like it's very much about leaving a legacy. It also sounds like from quite an early age, you had a very clear idea of things that you wanted to achieve, and certainly some sort of direction, some goal that you were working towards. How did you go about keeping your eyes on the prize, so to speak? Because it's one thing, people have perhaps a dream as a kid, and then they lose the dream, or they something happens and they can't play for England anymore, whatever it may be. How did you keep on going?
It's hope and faith. Right. Because like I said, there will be disappointments along the way. So it's hope and faith, and and the people that keep that hope and faith running are family. Especially kids. When I see them, it kind of drives me on, because I'll tell you something now, something that I don't really like to share a lot of. I remember that in 1997, I went to my parents and I said, you know what? I want to go to the UK because I had just had disappointment in getting the right course that I wanted to do, the civil engineering course that I wanted to do in Ghana. When the admissions came, I had not made it, to go and read civil engineering. But that's what I wanted to do. So I sat down, prayed about it. And for some reason, I had a vision that I was in the UK doing this course. And I went to my mom and dad and I said, you know what? I want to go to the UK to go and pursue my engineering career. And they said to me, how do you think we're going to be able to manage paying those international fees? And I said, you know what? I've prayed about it. And I believe that God is going to make a way. So I'm going to go. Right. And my mom said, okay. I don't know what that means, but let's see what happens. Lo and behold, I applied to few schools in the UK, and I had admission. And when I had the admission, the question was, how are we going to fund this? And I said to my mom, there will be a way. Wherever there's a will, there's a way. And she said, okay. And about a month later, she came to me saying, Ben, I don't know how it happened, but, because my parents had this gold mine business, and it wasn't kind of yielding the profit that they wanted to. And he came to me saying, Ben, you know what? We've just had a good sample, out of the mining, and now we have this money, that we were not expecting we were going to have it. So, yes, we can pay for your fees to go. And I said, yeah, there you go. So I paid for the fees. And that's how I came over, to do the course. And, being here, it's not been easy. If I tell you it's been easy, I'll be lying to you. But, there's always been that whenever there is a vision and there's a will, there will be a way, So today I live to give glory to God and thanks to my parents for believing in me. And, that I'm able to say proudly that, I have achieved something that I always wanted to so far, but I know that there is more to come. And I can assure you 100% without a fail that my eyes are on the prize, that my movies are gonna also hit that same height that my vision is on.
Wow. So definitely something there about having faith, having tenacity, taking risks. I'm not quite sure how it's going to pan out, but you took the risk and it all seemed to come together there. So what would you say to someone who perhaps doesn't know what their vision is, doesn't know what their goal is, doesn't really have an idea where they want to go? They know they want to do something, but they're not sure what that something is, and maybe they're stuck in a job they don't like, or they're coming to the end of school and wondering, what do I do next? What kind of advice would you give people?
The advice I'll give people is what makes you happy. If somebody was to ask you, how would you want to be remembered in this world when you're no longer here? What would you say? Yeah. And then when they give that answer, they're going to say, how would you think you'll be able to contribute to that sector that you've just mentioned? And then they might say, yeah, but I don't have what it takes to get there. But that's not the point. The point is knowing what makes you happy and what you like to do. I think that's the first thing. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Once you know that, don't worry about how it's going to happen, because how it's going to happen is the one that drives you, then you go nowhere. You first need to know what the target is. And once you know what the target is, pray about it if you believe in God, and trust in God that, He is your provider and He can make it happen, and then leave the rest. Live your life as much as you can, and stuff like that. And then just wait and see the magic happens. Things might come your way. They might look impossible, but just trust that it's going to happen. Keep doing the low things. Keep that dream in the background. Never let it die, and do the very little that you can do and watch the magic happens.
So basically, go for it.
Absolutely. Go for it. Go for it. Go for it. Go for it. That's all I would say. And it will happen.
So what's next for you?
Well, what next for me is basically what drives me, which is family, my wife and my kids, and how they see me and the belief they have in me is what drives me. So what is next is perhaps be on the next biggest project in the UK in terms of engineering. And then on the creative world, my new movie, releasing it, watching the impact that makes, and the profit that brings, and believing that the next one is not going to be just limited to the UK, is going to be the world. This recording here is going to be the evidence for the future that I'm saying here today, that my next project, after the one that I've just done that hasn't come out, is going to be on a world scale, that potentially we're going to get a deal from, I don't know where it's going to come from, but at the minute I'm just believing it, that is going to happen, that we'll be able to do things worldwide, a project film that will impact the world and put us on the world map as well.
So tell us a little bit about your inspiration for your character.
Okay, so my new movie, the inspiration is how the detective side of things. We have this body in Ghana, almost like the MI5 in the UK, and basically how they've been invited to the UK by the British government to help solve certain crimes. So it's a fully packed action movie with this Ghanaian, guy, detective in the UK, helping to solve some real life crimes. So I'm so excited about it because I never knew I could fight so well. And I never knew I could even use guns. And actually, when I watch myself and I'll go, oh, really? Is that me? Do you get what I mean? So, yeah, so I'm so excited. I don't want to give a lot away. But yeah, it's this Ghanaian guy in London solving real life crimes, the challenges along the way, overcoming them. Because it can't be that easy just to come from Ghana, being given permission by the British government to operate, out of jurisdiction, but still manage to push through. I don't want to give it away, but yeah, it's exciting. People that have seen it so far goes, oh my God, this is going to be a big one. So I'm so excited.
And so before we move on, what advice would you give to anyone based upon your life experience so far?
What I've learned through life is there's always going to be obstacles and disappointment along the way. But that should not be what drives you. What should drive you is the vision that you've had as a child or at some point through your life. never take no for an answer. Because if you go somewhere trying to do something and you get a setback, it doesn't mean it will not happen. It means go, sit back, reflect, and try again. So keep moving, keep pushing the boundaries till you see it happen. That's when you're done. If it's not happened, never give up. Never give up hope. That's what I would say to people.
What would be the thing you're most proud of?
Family. My kids. I'm so happy about my kids. And I'm so happy about my wife, Abusive. She's not listening, but, I like to say that I'm proud about, how she's able to gear me on and basically supportive all the time. My kids have been amazing. Kelly and Kwame, they are so supportive. Anytime I feel like I can even share stuff with them. And being kids, they still understand and they always have opinions. And, they are incredible if you meet them. So I just can't wait to see how they're going to turn up as well, because I know 100% that, they're going to even do greater things than I have.
Sounds like an exciting future.
Yes.
Who would you say is your hero, or it doesn't have to be hero, but someone you most admire?
Someone I most admire is my dad, late dad, because he was somebody that was always calm, had a vision. And, there is anytime I had an issue and I went to dad, he always had something to say to encourage me. So, yeah, he's no longer here, but I'm pretty sure God has kept him in a good place. And, if he can hear me now, Dad, thank you. And, I really, really admired my dad.
That's lovely. Thank you. So we're going to go through some favourite things. Now, I appreciate sometimes this is difficult just to narrow it down to one thing, but try to do so, or at least give us an indication of things you like. So if you had to choose one piece of music or a song, what would it be?
It's a song called Thy Grace by Kofi Kinata. Kofi Kinata is a Ghanaian musician. Yeah, I've never met this guy in person, but I love his songs. Thy Grace, because it kind of resonates with me. It's like the thing that has. So anytime I'm feeling under the weather, I'll go and listen to that song. Thy Grace is sufficient for me. It's not your traditional gospel music. It's not gospel music at all. It's supposed to be secular, but if you listen to the message, it kind of pushes you on, and Thy Grace is sufficient, So Kofi Kinata, I will spell his name. Kofi is Kofi. Kinata is Kinata. If you have a moment, listen to that song, Thy Grace.
Brilliant, thank you. And so something, I always say this, but it's dear to my heart, food. What would be your favourite food?
Oh my God, it's loads. And one day I'm going to invite you to come and taste the cooking of my wife. Yeah, she has a food. She's coming up with a food website. She's got stuff on Facebook. Her brand name is Webisabi. Wabisabi. You can Google it, and she's got stuff on YouTube as well. She cooks the most amazing Ghanaian food, yeah. But out of all of them, the one I like is called Ghanaian black eyed pea sauce and ripe plantain. As soon as I mentioned that, I've got tears in my eyes. I love it.
I love plantain, yeah. Or plantain, yeah, great. Okay. So, favourite place?
The church. is my favorite place because anytime I like to unwind or something is not going as it should, the church is always a place for me to be, sit down and tune in into God for directions. And it's always worked. So my favorite place is the church.
Cool. And book, film, or video game?
Well, the book is Pauline's Diary by a guy called Ben Darkwa. Yes, which is selling on Amazon, on Amazon. So, yes, that's it.
Thank you, Ben. I really appreciate you giving your busy time up from your busy schedule to have a conversation. And you have to let us know how it's going. And we'll look out for your new release. When does that come out?
I'm still going through the negotiations because this is one that I'm not looking at releasing myself. I'm looking at, basically passing it on to a media house that will do the rest. So mine is just to produce it, and then I'm going to get people to take it over. So, yeah, I'm still going through the negotiations, so no time yet.
We'll watch this space. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much, Mark.
Thank you for taking the time to listen to the podcast. Until next time, remember, help people feel valued. Listen, don't just hear.